taking it slow.
Hey guys, it's Christopher Lewis, and welcome to Dating Intelligence, the podcast where we give relationship advice from dating to marriage and everything else in between. And always with the goal of helping you to continuously be the best you at all times, as Jamie's over there writing stuff down as I'm saying my intro. Good morning, Jamie, go ahead.
So if you're looking for real, honest information to help you navigate your relationships, we've got you covered. Come on in, beautiful. She has a
Gotta
couple
pass
waters.
the waters out for our guest today.
Yeah.
All right, guys, hello. Welcome to another episode of Dating Intelligence, Sticky Paw Studios here in Las Vegas. What's up, girl?
What is this shirt?
Oh,
I like
this
the
shirt.
green.
Oh, it's my
Is that a merman?
tennis players make better lovers. You know, it's since I'm
that
a
what it says?
tennis player, yeah. I just thought I just kind of got three girls in here. I might as well share the love. That's why I'm wearing it today. So, you know how I work. I'm just working it. Yeah. So what are you up to?
I mean, you whack balls all day.
I do whack balls all day for people. If you put it that way, it sounds a little weird. But yes, I do.
All right.
But about 10,000 balls a day. Damn.
How is the tennis stuff going?
Tennis is good. It's busy. It's summertime. You know, it's just like, but this is the first summer where I feel like I'm just kind of just floating with it, which is kind of like at a good speed and not overworking. Okay. Because I've been in and out of town so much. So either being here or traveling around or doing whatever. It's been like a first time I think I've had a summer where I felt like I'm not overworked.
Oh.
Yeah. Usually like I'm on the court like 12 hours a day sometimes, you know, and this is the first time like 5 hours, 6 hours. It's a better speed for me. I kind of like it.
What do they call it? Overworked and underpaid?
Overworked and underpaid, although I'm getting paid for my service because it's my own personal business, so I'm being paid perfectly. So, and what about you?
Oh, goodness. I'm enjoying this fabulous tea that our intern brought us.
Nice.
She's working out fabulous.
She is working
we
out
love
fabulous.
her.
I think she might
Shout
actually
out
stay
to her.
on for a while, which is kind of great.
I didn't know that she is a dancer.
Yes. So this is and thank you. Hi, Sydney. Shout out to
Hi,
Sydney Pelt in the
Sydney.
background. Shout out to my sister, Sheila Milner, for introducing us to her.
Yeah.
So yeah, with her great studio and choreography session stuff going on. But this is how we got her via Dance Life.
I love it. I think we need to get her in a Vegas show. So shout out to Missy Cochran.
Right. Yes, we got to get her out out into the scene with
For
all her.
sure.
You know, put
yeah,
her in some
I'm
things,
excited
so.
for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to jump into our show right now.
Okay.
We got these two gorgeous girls here, and I feel like it's fucking St. Patrick's Day because I'm feeling lucky right about now. These two on the show. Got these two hotties. All right, so our first guest today is a model, definitely a MILF, and lifestyle coach who guides you to becoming the most expressed, uncensored, and abundant version of you so that you can have anything and everything that you desire. Love that tagline, by the way. Please welcome the stunning Courtney Tillia to the show.
Thank you.
Did I say that correctly, Tillia?
Tillia.
All right,
Tillia.
great. Tillia. Got it. All right, that's great. Welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. All right, you're looking gorgeous today with your
Thank
little
you.
leather slash. I don't know. I just want to just like kind of just slide my hands all
Right?
over you right about now.
Don't you dare.
Well, I'm
I
just
touched
saying.
her first.
And our second guest is a model and actor who can just hypnotize you by staring at you with those gorgeous brown eyes. This stunning brunette has a presence on social media. Please welcome Shaavvaa to the show. I'm going to say Shaavvaa. I'm going to say Shaavvaa, but Shaavvaa to the show. Welcome, Shaavvaa.
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
I'm good. How
Look
are you?
amazing today, too.
Yeah, your dress is smoking.
It is
Thank
smoking,
you.
yeah. Guys, I'm telling you, you need to turn on YouTube for this one. We got three of the hottest girls around on our show. That's including you two, honey, because you're my favorite
thanks.
co-host in the entire world. Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to just start off. First of all, Courtney, we're going to start off with you and just see how
Perfect.
you're doing, what's going on with you, and what's new.
Good. So good.
Good.
Just flew in today, but I'm excited to be here. What is going on in my life? Well, I'm a mom.
Yes, you are.
And I'm a
you little MILF. I know you are. I'm saying, I read that.
It is my tagline. I
Thank
do
you.
use it.
Thank you very
You
much.
do use it.
I do.
I just
Why
don't-
not?
I just don't spit shit out of my mouth to be saying
I
stuff.
feel like you
know?
just kept adding that in. I didn't know it was like.
No, I do use it. I'm like, I might as well use my things that I'm using.
Right.
Like,
I'm
working
okay
for.
with that.
Teacher,
I'm so
MILF,
okay with that.
Yeah.
You got a fan here. I'm okay with that.
Thank you.
All right. So, anyways, my dear MILF, go ahead. Continue.
Just kind of working on like some different like TV modeling, different things like that right now.
Good.
Yeah.
How's I know that when being a lifestyle coach and everything, you want to talk a little bit more about how's that going for you?
Amazing.
Good.
I love being able to help women to create the life they want. I struggled myself with just expression, finding out what my purpose was. My last year as a school teacher, I found myself like really depressed, anxious,
Okay.
like kind of like pulling away from the things that I loved, like my family. Like that was something I was so proud of and had this beautiful family, but I found myself like becoming more and more depressed and just pulling away.
Okay. And by pulling away, what do you mean by that? Like, do you feel like the walls are closing in on you?
Just
kind
like
of
distancing myself.
Okay.
Like I couldn't connect with them in the way that I desired because I really couldn't connect with myself. Like I didn't know what I liked, what I enjoyed. I'm miserable at my job. And so my husband turned to me one day.
Heathens.
I know. And he was like, this isn't really working. Like, you continuing to be a teacher and we were struggling financially. And he was like, if you could do anything all day, what would you do? And I didn't even know the answer to that question. Okay. And I was like, I think I'd go to the gym. And he's like, great, quit your job and do that. And that was a huge turning point for me to kind of figure out like what it is and what I enjoy. So now I like to be able to help women to figure out like, what do you like? What do you enjoy? Right. What do you want to experience in the world? And so I think it's amazing. Great.
And kudos to your husband for recognizing, giving the time and space.
Yeah.
I like that guy already.
Right. He's amazing. We always joke about how he really had no right to give me that permission because we were struggling a lot financially. He had just quit his job as a teacher as well to start his own business. And so our real only income was my teacher income. Okay. Wow. And so then I quit. So now I have real no income.
He put your happiness before the whole like financial aspect.
1,000%.
That's something.
How long in the industry of teaching, by the way?
I spent 6 years.
And what grade level, if I may ask?
I've done all of them. I've done kinder, middle, high school, and I did severe special needs. So kids that could not go to a public school because they were physically aggressive.
Got it. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
It takes a special person to work with the special needs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My daughters both did that throughout junior high and into high school. And they would come home and they have these stories of the kids that they work with every day. So I knew I felt like I knew these kids like inside and out. And one of them was like Dante. So they'd come home, we'd sit down and eat dinner and they'd tell me these stories.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to come to school because I would sub. So anywhere that my kids were, I would pop up and sub. I'm like, I'm going to come in and spend the day with you. So I showed up and I didn't even make it through the day. I couldn't. My heart was so broken for these kids. And it gave me a sense of appreciation for the people that are able to put themselves in that space.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, she does this every single day. And I couldn't even make it one freaking day.
Yeah.
So feeding, they have to feed them at lunch. Take them to the bathroom. It's like
Diaper
severe,
changes. Yes, we did
cerebral palsy. I'm like, how are like these kids able? But I mean, my girls loved it.
I loved it. People are always like, will you go back to teaching or do you miss it? I don't miss the career as a whole.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things about it. Like obviously the pay is awful.
Yeah.
The way that we treat teachers. But those kids, I loved them. I treat them like they were my own, and just like getting to see the little moments, the light bulbs turn on, or like being able to take them out into the community and seeing them like go to the movie theater for the first time because their families didn't have the capabilities to do that. So
yeah,
those things I really love.
So big respect to you,
Thank you.
in that sense.
Yeah.
Man, that was a game changer for me.
Yeah.
I look at my kids and I'm like, you're a better person than me, and I cannot even like take credit because like I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It was just heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is.
Not easy.
So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
So okay, how long have you been married?
I've been married 9.5 years. We've been together 12.
Wow.
He was a teacher at the school, was technically my boss, was like assistant principal, and I was a first year teacher, and so that's how that went down.
Did you ever have sex in the school?
Nice. Yeah, you're not a teacher anymore. It's okay.
I know.
Right.
I know. Yeah.
What a hot visual.
Wait, I want to ask a better question. Was it during school hours?
Absolutely not.
Damn it.
No, I am
Okay.
so sorry. No, we were very respectful. It was like, as a teacher, you're there late some days, like doing paperwork and stuff. And so it's like hours afterwards, and it's just him and I doing paperwork. And I'm like, there's
You
other
need an
fun
outlet.
things that we could be
Thank you.
doing than
Right.
this.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. I bet everybody got an A at that on those days. I bet for sure. So Tommy's like, I got an A, Mama.
That's so funny.
All right, Shay, we're going to jump to you now. So we're incorporating everyone here. So what is your story and how are you doing, by the way?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Good, good. And now I hear that you said Sacramento, correct?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. And what?
Yes.
So tell us about your story. How did you guys get together yourselves over here?
So we met through a mutual friend, a photographer that we both have shot with. And I came down to LA to shoot with them, a group shoot, and two of them were talking and had mentioned, you know who she reminds me of? And they're like, who? Courtney Tillia. And then they're like, do you know who Courtney Tillia is? I'm like, no, I have no idea who that is. And like, you guys are so similar. You guys should shoot together. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I like looked her up and I was like, I don't know if she'll shoot with me, but I mean, I might as well ask.
Right.
So I messaged her and was like, hey, you know, so-and-so said this. Like, I think it'd be great for us to shoot. And then we did. And
Now, was this with the same photographer, by the way, who actually suggested that?
yeah.
Okay, great. Because I was going to, he better put his
Yeah.
money where his mouth is. Then if
Yeah,
that's the
we
case, though.
we actually did.
Okay.
We have a few times. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, but then if you guys do this now, what's the meeting point? Because I know that obviously you're in LA, you're in Sacramento. So where do you guys, do you come to LA or vice
Yeah.
versa? Do you go there?
I come to LA because, I mean, obviously that's like the hub for most
Yeah.
modeling things in general. Sacramento, I mean, there's some stuff in Sacramento for modeling and acting, but it's really slow. It's not like being down there. And even photography wise, like talent based,
Right.
I think LA makes more sense.
Okay.
So I usually go down there like once a month and I'll let her know, because I know she's busy. She has a huge life and major schedule. And I'll say, hey, like, I want to come down this month. Are you free? If not, like, I'll try to work around your schedule and whatnot.
And
yeah.
how long will you stay for normally if you do that, by the way? when you
It
come in?
varies. Sometimes it's a weekend. Sometimes it's a week.
Okay.
I have some like family friends that are down there, and then just some friends I've met through modeling and whatnot. So if I can like stay with them or whatnot, or if I need to get a hotel, or depending on what, because LA is so big, depending
Yeah.
on what area I need to be in, will also kind of determine how long I'm going to be down there.
Okay.
So-
All right. Okay. And what's your status? What is your single relation, married? Where
no,
are
I'm in
you?
a relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How long now for you?
About like 7 months, but it was a friendship.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, someone that we both were like, oh, like never, there's no way. I wasn't his type because he had the stereotypical like, oh, you're a model,
Right.
You know,
But
like
yet
you're-
he's still a friend of yours. I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
We were friends, and he's the oldest guy I've dated. He's almost 9 years older than me.
Okay.
Ooh.
And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of like growing, because I mean, obviously he has more life experience than I do as well, and it's been so interesting.
Good.
And I had no desire to date. Like doing modeling and dating and being from a small town and everybody knows you and knows what you do is very uncomfortable and awkward. But yeah, it happened out of nowhere, like
Okay.
literally out of nowhere. Like, no, I had not thought about it before, and it just happened. And we're like, okay, like, was this just like a fling, you know?
Yeah.
So we like kind of just, flirted around for a little bit with one another, and then it kept happening, and we're like, okay, like, is this something more? And yeah, it was totally something more.
Just taking the chance. And you're a firm believer of friendship. So we
I
have this
love-
conversation a lot.
Yeah.
I love starting there because it just opens up in the most beautiful ways. Like if you can be with someone on a friendship level, then everything else is just like icing on the cake, in my opinion.
Right.
It was our friendship was so raw too, because like at heart I'm a tomboy. Being
Yeah.
a girl was something I had to learn in my early 20s. And so I was kind of just one of the boys in the house. There was a group
Okay.
of us. It was him, and he had a roommate and me. So it was like 3 dudes basically. And I, I listened to them talk about girls and stuff, and they would go out on dates and whatever. I'm just like, okay, whatever, go do your thing and whatnot. So I got to see like the real raw form of him, and vice versa. And I think that's probably what made it so easy and effortless. Like both of us had no desire to date whatsoever.
There was like no
Timing.
expectation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, and I don't have to be anybody else. Like, he doesn't care. Like I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh my gosh, I look insane. And he's like, I think you're beautiful. I'm like, wow,
That's
okay,
a good
really?
one. That's a keeper.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so
Yeah.
it's awesome because I can be myself, and we talk about absolutely everything, and I've, like Courtney, have struggled through a lot of things based on like religion and whatnot, and how things are so, you're told they have to be this way. You can't do this, you can't do that. And he's really like broken free from the matrix. He's done a lot of work on himself, and he's helping me do that. And it's been amazing.
Oh, that's good for you.
Like
Good.
I always call it societal beliefs,
Yeah.
and they keep us in a box, and they keep us playing small. Which the sooner we learn to unlearn what we've been conditioned to believe, the better off we'll be.
1,000%. Yep.
So that's interesting. If you don't mind me asking, 20s, like for you, what age range are you?
Oh, I'm 26.
Okay, and so he's okay.
He's 34.
Wow,
That's good. That's
yeah.
perfect, actually.
I think
Yeah,
so.
it's- and
I do too.
Like I wasn't, my mindset wasn't there at 26. So I think that that's amazing for you. And then to have like someone older to guide you, as you say, is really cool if that's where his mindset is.
Definitely. I feel super fortunate. It's been a great experience so far, even just as friends. He had like helped me a lot mentally, and now that we're dating, he's always manifesting like my health and healing and all good things for me, and like that's nothing I ever thought of before, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing.
Right.
Like,
Are these the qualities when you were hanging out as friends that you were picking up on regardless? You know what I mean? And before that, before you guys started dating, like what was the connection? I know you were saying with the guys and and this and that, but what was your connection with each other, and how frank were you guys? How open were you guys with each other?
Oh,
when you spoke and stuff.
Super blunt,
Great.
super raw,
Yeah.
all the time. It could have been about anything. Like I
Okay.
could say, oh, like this guy's cute, right? Because they're talking about girls. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, this guy's cute, and they would literally just light me up. Like, really? That's what you think's cute? I'm like, what? Like, so it was always super open, super raw, and so like I said, I like knew what I was walking into,
Okay.
and I think he's very different. He's super interesting. He's an artist. He's a tattoo artist, actually. So we're very opposites as well, like organized chaos and like OCD organized kind of.
It's a good matchup.
Yeah.
Opposites. I like opposites like that.
I'm
so-
seeing all the energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. It's
Okay,
great.
so being friends for the amount of time that you were friends, how did you guys like?
She's wanting to know, when's that pivotal moment
Yeah.
when you guys decide
okay,
on like,
yeah.
so
was it a crazy night? Something.
Like, how did that happen? Was it talked about, or did it just happen? Because we get a lot of questions from males and females that are in like friend situations, and they're like, how do we get out of the friend zone? And I'm like, people do it. There's no formula.
Right.
So we love hearing different perspectives.
in my experience, well, from this experience, because I've had multiple male friends throughout life, and I've had guy friends tell me, hey, I really like you. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I hope I didn't lead you on.
Yeah.
I'm not interested, but if you want to be friends, great. Like, if not, I totally understand. And I've had that happen so much, and it sucks because I've lost a lot of friends that way. But I've always got along from a teenager till now. Like, I'd always gotten along with men easier just from being a tomboy. But I would say because I didn't feel like he liked me. I didn't feel like he had interest in me. So I think because I was so comfortable with him that when it did like fall into place, it just, like I said, it happened so effortlessly. I don't know, when you're talking to someone and getting to know them and whatnot, like there's so much expectation and like, having to try to be a certain person and whatnot. And then like the pressure of dating, I think that's why I didn't like dating. I felt so pressured all the time. And when it comes to dating a friend, I feel like you don't feel that way unless they're pushy, which he wasn't pushy. It actually, I guess for the moment that it clicked in my head that I was like, wait, is something like there? So he has a vasectomy because kids aren't something that we both don't want. I took him to his appointment, and that's the first time we'd ever slept in a bed together. Nothing happened. It was platonic. But he cuddled me, and I felt this energy, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe he just really cares about me, but I really feel something. And following that, we had went to dinner one night together when I went to hang out, which wasn't out of the blue, or wasn't abnormal.
Right.
And so we went, and it felt like a date. And I'm like, why does this feel like this? This is so weird. Like, this is my male friend. And I was looking at him, and I caught myself being mesmerized by him. Like, why are you so attractive? He's kind of like the bad boy type, right? Like being tattooed and whatnot. And I was just like, what am I feeling? And then I stayed with him that night, and we slept in the bed together again. And so I had brought up, I'm like, do you feel something? Like, there's just this energy. And he was like, I just can't say anything. And of course I was like, well, can you show me? And it's been all downhill from there.
That's great. That's
So he
great.
fucking showed
Wow.
you.
He showed me, and I just kept coming back for more.
Way to stand up to the challenge. I like that.
And we
Yeah.
went back and forth. We're like, oh, do we want to date? Because we were still kind of conflicted, even though we both were like, this would be amazing. Like, we work well together. We already knew that. Our friendship was amazing. We had a great foundation, but we were still kind of reserved on the dating thing. So we, saw each other for a couple of months, just playfully, nothing too crazy. And finally I was like, look, I really like you, and either we're going to do this or we're not, because I'm going to have to leave because I'm so invested already. And he was like, let's do it. And so, yeah, and now I'm like, we've started.
I didn't even think about that. You put up a very good point. When friends get to that point like that, like you just said, it's almost like you've almost crossed in this other like realm now. You've crossed into another realm. And all of a sudden it's like, well, I don't want to affect our friendship or da-da-da-da, because you're still kind of exploring what this really means. It's not like you just kind of, that thing that just gets connected and you're there. It's almost like you have to almost talk yourself.
That's why I asked, was it a conversation or did it just happen?
It wasn't we never talked about it. Never.
It was never that night when he like put it on her.
But I meant the after fact. You know, like when she said show me, and now it's the next day. And
Oh,
you're
he
just
fucking
like,
showed her.
Oh, I know he showed her. But I'm saying after the showing and the performance and the probably continuation of the show, encore.
Yeah, I love
it's like you're saying you still have to have that conversation. Okay, what does this mean? Like, are we here now, or are we
I
just
feel like if it's fire, then it is what it is.
Okay, that's
but
true.
If it's awkward and there's awkward feelings when you wake up, I mean, is it really? Do you need to discuss it? You feel it. You fucking know.
That's very good.
Yeah. And that's how it felt.
Okay.
It was fire, and I felt like I knew. But like I said, we were very timid still. But we both knew what was right in front of us. That it was great because obviously we kept coming back.
Right.
And and then it did get to a point eventually, because we saw each other for maybe 2-ish months, maybe 3. And then that's when I vocalized,
Okay.
What do you think is like a good amount of time where you're like, I want to do this?
You mean between
Do
friends?
you think it's usually like 2 months?
Between friends, or like after, if you've been
like
intimate with one another?
When you've been intimate.
I mean, I feel like 2 months was almost a lifetime, because I think I immediately felt it, and I think women do. I think we immediately feel more.
We know.
Yeah.
We know.
All right, so
know.
Wait, hold on. Before now, this is where we get the segue
This is where
now.
you get
so,
like
all
the
right,
guy's
so
perspective.
This is the thing. No,
Travis.
So, right. So, Travis. All right, guys. So what Shaavvaa is about to jump into is the whole point of our topic today, and Courtney, we're going to have, and Jamie, all you girls are going to get into this one. So what you're about to say, you just know. So our topic of the day is called Freeze, F.B.I, a female's best intuition. A woman's intuition is always right. They can always sense when something's not right, and they're as top notch as any FBI investigator. So you girls always have something when you just kind of know. So let's continue on that, where your intuition just kind of kicked in. So you felt something, even though if he still was a little
She
off.
was denying it though.
Yeah,
I feel like
was.
she
And I get
knew,
that.
but she was like tiptoeing around
Right.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, but I felt like the way that you said it, you were picking up the cues, and you were kind of exploring it without having to just let it go. You know what I mean? Because all of a sudden, those aha moments kept coming, and at least you voiced it, which I'm glad you did that.
Yeah,
by the way,
and that,
so.
and even that was nerve wracking a little
I'm
bit.
sure.
So I was like, oh my gosh, what if he really doesn't like me?
What
if
if
this
he doesn't feel the
stops?
same way?
Yeah,
Right.
and I was like, I don't want this to stop. This has been really great.
Right. Yeah.
So
right.
yeah, but but like I said, because he is older, he's more mature, he's had a lot of life experience. I felt more comfortable asking and
Okay.
being like, hey, I like this. This is great. I think it could go even further. How do you feel? And he handled it very well too.
Okay.
So
it's funny when you get in that situation when you are friends, and all of a sudden it gets intimate, and all of a sudden it's like the awkwardness of really speaking your truth or communication.
Yeah.
It just changes just a tad bit.
Yeah.
But I
because
didn't
it's the
feel
nerves.
awkward.
No, I'm
like,
saying
which was
from
nice.
from his side or whatever.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, you know what I mean? There's always going to be some sort of, and all of a sudden you just, well, I thought we were friends. We could talk about anything. And all of a sudden it just kind of changes a little.
Yeah,
you know,
it
until
sounds
you
like
got back
he
on
was
track.
pretty like comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like you guys were pretty comfortable from the get
Yeah.
with each other. So,
Right.
okay, when you travel, do you stay with her?
No.
Oh, okay.
She's got this is
I
like an
got-
episode of Full House.
Yeah.
I got
Oh shit, that's what I was gonna
I got
ask
a bunch
her.
of kids and dogs.
And be like, so I was leading into, because you said, yeah, we decided we don't want to have kids, and he's had a vasectomy. So I'm like, was she your birth control? 'Cause she has the
Potentially,
house full.
yeah, probably.
Oh my God.
She saw how chaotic it is, and she was like, I don't want that for myself.
How is the household, Courtney, by the way? How is the
I
house?
love it. I
Okay.
love it.
What are the
knew I-
ages?
We
Sorry.
have 9, 10, 19, 21.
Wow, that is a full house.
Yeah, the
Man.
21's not with us.
Okay.
She's moved out, but we have 3, and then we have 2 dogs.
Okay.
So it is a full house, but I knew from the beginning, like as a little girl, that was what I wanted.
Right.
So,
right.
yeah.
Well, I feel that's also like being in a in the teaching environment.
Right.
You're used to like corralling that many people and like
kids.
putting them in order and in their space, which is
Yeah.
great. So
And that's what I knew that about my husband before I knew he had kids, but like watching him with our students too, I was like, we're meant to have like a fleet of kids. And just watching him, even like co-parenting can be such a difficult thing of like, how do you handle different scenarios? And like, we were in the toughest environments with the toughest kids. And seeing how he worked with kids and how it just like meshed so well together.
that's great.
Yeah.
Did
All right.
you discipline? Sorry.
Go ahead, no,
Did
please.
you discipline his kids?
No, we don't really like do that. Like, we'll have like consequences in the sense of a redirection, so
Okay.
that like,
I like that.
we would rather like you learn from it than to have like a punishment.
Right.
Kind
But
of a
it's
thing.
also something that's talked about when you have like
Yes.
others
When you
involved
do
now.
a blended family?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
there's lots of conversations
Yeah.
that you had with that.
I had step parents growing up, and that was my biggest fear being a stepmom
Okay.
was that like I didn't want to have the experiences that I had. And so I was like, I really just want to come in and love you.
Right.
I'm not here to like replace your mom. I'm just here to love you and be an additional lover of you in any way that I can support you.
Okay.
So that was like a huge thing that I was
And
like,
they were
came in
all
with.
youngish at that point in
Yeah.
time. I mean, obviously yours were brand new, but they
Yeah.
were the other two were youngish at the time
Yeah,
you guys
they were
started.
pretty
so-
little.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, like I feel like coming in at 11 that's a tough age.
It is a tough age. You know, I was so blessed. I was an asshole as a stepchild. Like, I was so angry that I had step parents that
Right.
I was like, how can I make your life miserable? And so they were never that way to me. And part of me was actually shocked. I was like, I can't believe these kids are so loving and accepting and just so excited for me to be here.
Okay.
And they were like that from the beginning.
Aw.
See,
It's
those
a
are good
blessing.
kids.
I say like being a step parent is the most beautiful gift because all we have to do is kind of like show up and love them and
Yeah.
support them.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they have to be open and receptive to that though. That's the thing though, because it's like if the kids already, like you said, already have some preconceived, well, you're not my mom, da 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 da. It's
Yeah.
like you're working circles and hoops for these kids
Yeah.
as much as you can without overdoing it in order to get them to feel a bond with you.
That's when your partner comes in play.
I agree with that.
feel.
Yes, I agree.
Because
Yeah. Mhm.
it's not, as a step parent, it's not our place, and this is just my opinion, it's not our place to discipline them. It's our place
Yeah.
to love them and support them. And if they're behaving like out of what you consider the norm
Mm-hmm.
for your household, that's where your partner needs to,
Yeah.
I
put
agree
it
with that
down.
100%.
I think though
Yeah.
too, I had built such a relationship with them that I could communicate something of like, I don't feel like this is right, or I think that we need to discuss this further. Like I
Okay.
had built such a foundation that it wasn't coming from a like, who are you? You're not my parent. Like it was always from like, I know that you love and care about
Yeah,
me.
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
But that's you also investing the time with them,
Yeah.
where most people might be afraid to do that as well, where they're just like, hey, if they're a step, they might not want to invest that extra time to
Right.
get to that point.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to deal with that, though.
I think that's so important though. Like if you're going to be in a relationship with somebody and you're committed to that and they have children, like that comes together. Like that's a package deal.
Right.
Like it's not like I want the person, but I don't want to invest in the kids. I don't think that's not fair.
No.
It's not.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
getting like visions of stepbrothers. I'm not gonna call him dad.
The show.
I was like, yeah. So I'm like dating someone new, and my girls are older, but they're back home. They moved out, so they were gone for a good like 3 years, and now they're back in the house. So it's freaking weird, like
Yeah.
dating. And
She's like
recently,
the kid now, by the way, because of that.
recently they're like, wait, I'm dating someone new, and they're like, you're bringing him here? And I'm like, yeah, I've been dating him for a few months. And they're like, yeah, it's 2 months. And I'm thinking, okay. And then she goes, well, is he going to sleep on the couch? And I'm like, no, he's sleeping in my bed. And so they like have already tag teamed up, and they're like, well, we don't know if we like him. And then they're like, well, when he comes over, we're going to, and I'm like, you're not going to do shit. So now I'm like freaking the fuck out, and I don't even think I'm going to stay at home when he gets here. Because I'm like, these
Imagine.
little shits are going to sabotage my relationship.
She's got to get out of her own house and stay in a hotel just to enjoy
Yes.
her boyfriend. because
And I
her
want to be
daughters
like,
are there.
whose house is this?
Right, right.
But
Get control of that house. I
I'm
love
trying.
your daughters.
I'm
Just like,
fucking
take control.
trying. But
I feel like society has this thing with time too. Like it needs to be this amount of time, and it goes back to like the intuition. Like you know.
Right.
And you get
Yeah.
that feeling of like, I know it's only been like my husband and I moved in together with his girls after like 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
And most people would have looked at that. I was just out of a relationship. he was divorced. Like people would look at that and be like, this isn't long enough. There's kids involved. But like we knew.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Or
So
they
let's
throw
talk
that at
about
you. You
that.
need time to heal.
Yeah.
Spend time
Right.
on your own.
I don't agree with the time to heal and all that stuff. I
So
just feel
I
like
agree
sometimes
with
you know
her.
it's right.
Yeah.
It's right when
Yeah.
it's right. It's right. You
Yeah.
know, when there's a obviously we all know when we're jumping in too soon with
Sure.
something, but those are red flags.
But
But
sometimes it's just fun to learn.
right.
Yeah.
And I
that's
like
true.
red.
Right.
Same.
She likes circuses.
But I always say, you know, when there's other kids involved, I go, oh, like I've only been in a situation where I dated someone who had a child only once, and I was like, I was ready for that. You know, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, if I'm dating her, I'm going to invest myself in with this little 3-year-old and da-da-da. But then, like, it was that thing where, you know, you don't want to disappoint a kid. I'm sorry. You don't want to, like, feel like you're, like,
Totally.
there's a revolving door and these kids, like, these parents or whatever it is. So great for you to that. But when did
Yeah.
you realize for you and your husband, now husband, but then relationship boyfriend, how did
Yeah.
you know it was, what did your intuition say at that point in time?
1,000%. Like
Okay.
I was technically engaged when we met.
Oh,
I know.
all right.
Technically, yeah, technically because we were
I'm
engaged.
sorry, I'm giggling. I'm giggling. She goes, I mean, I didn't walk the aisle with them yet. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm.
But this even is a bigger testament to her knowing.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so continue.
I knew it was really bad.
Okay.
And the only reason I stayed, I was a brand new certified teacher. I had my own condo that I had just like rented, and he was addicted to heroin.
Okay.
And a black belt. And I was scared for my life. Like
Right.
if he's on drugs and can kill me with his hands, and if these drugs are found in my house, I'm losing my certificate that I've just worked so hard
get
for.
that.
And so it was more of a situation of like, how am I going to safely get this person out of my house and still be okay? So at the school, I went to go meet him. He was essentially the assistant principal. I remember the minute we shook hands and I was like, oh, fuck. Like there
the
is just
electricity.
like, yeah. And I was
right.
like, what is that feeling? I've never felt that before. I just remember thinking to myself, I'm in trouble.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right, let's continue down this path. Courtney and I were here. So, continue the story then.
So I was like, I've got it. Like things are getting really bad with the drug use. And I'm miserable, like just like slowly tumbling out. And I was like trying to figure out, I don't know what to do. And I even went to the principal one day, which is probably not the best move, but I went to the school principal and I was like, here's my situation. Here's what I'm in. I had talked to my husband about it at the time, but he was just my coworker.
Yeah.
And he would always like give me a listening ear. And I was like, I got to kick him out. I don't have a good relationship with my dad whatsoever. We don't talk at all. But at that time we did. And I told him, he was like, let me know and I'll come. So it turns out my dad did show up. The police were called and my coworker, who's now my husband, showed up and they all removed him safely.
That's great.
But yeah. And I went to stay the night at the new guy's house that night.
All right. Well, there you go. Now, did you tell him to show you as well?
Yeah. Could you please show me what we're working with?
What are these feelings we're feeling?
Right.
Show me.
Show me the feelings.
I think all guys need that from women. Show me.
I mean, I
please.
don't know. My guy showed me. He just grabbed me by the neck.
Yeah.
And I was
Ooh.
like,
Yeah.
oh, wow.
That's,
and I was just
say
like,
less.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is how it's going to be. I kind of like it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that as
So,
well. by the
same.
way,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep.
All right, well, needless to say, that engagement was off.
Okay,
at that
so
point.
let's talk a little bit about your dad. So at that time, he came and kind of helped you out, and then
Yeah.
what happened after that?
It's a long story about my father.
Okay.
He'd always wished I was a boy. And so from the very beginning, it was a very tough relationship. Like I always just wanted to be a boy growing up so that I could get his love. And like I went hard in sports so that I could get his love. And I loved sports, but it was like always who I needed to be to
Okay.
get his love.
Approval, yeah.
There was a lot of affairs happening. We had to do some moving because of affairs. And then in middle school, he became super religious.
Okay.
Very, very religious. I participated in it as well. We taught Sunday school together. We were doing that like 4 services a day. And it just got really bad until like there were women in and out of the house. And like he would say really terrible things to me that came from religion. He had just started dating this girl, maybe a month or 2. And he was like, I love her more than I love you. And that moment will forever, I was like, that is not.
Right.
Why would he say that? I feel like the love we have for our children is completely different than the
It's
love
totally
you have for
different.
a partner.
It was a very religious statement, right? Because
Okay.
like in the Bible, it's like you will love your spouse, and like that is like the ultimate thing for him. And so it was almost like, I'm going to show you how faithful I am to God or the Bible, that I love this new person. The thing is it wasn't a spouse.
Right. That's true.
It was just somebody he had just started dating. So just like a lot of things like that slowly tumbled out. And then
Okay.
when I got pregnant with my son, I was like, I don't want my kids to question whether grandpa is in and out of your life like I did, and have to do the healing work that I have done and continue to do.
Yeah.
That I was like, you're just not going to have participate in their lives.
Okay.
Ooh,
All right.
and how did that show up for him?
He,
Has he acknowledged?
he has no, like, so then a couple years later after my kids were born, I reached out because I was like, I want to do my own healing and let him know that I forgive him for the terrible things he's done. And he received he was like, thank you for forgiving me, but continued to say that like nothing he did was wrong, and never actually desired to have a relationship with any of us.
Right.
And so that I haven't,
Man.
it's my kids are like the
And
oldest
you've
is 10.
felt that since you were little, though. at the
Yeah,
same
I've
time,
known.
though.
Yeah.
Were you an
Okay.
only child?
No, I have an older brother that I also don't have a relationship with.
Okay.
Very estranged family
Yeah.
situation.
See, I always say people that's just missing out on life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's
What
just
a
crazy.
God, that's so like.
Yeah.
What's the
People
saying? You
always
can't
want to
choose-
know about my
Can't choose your
Yeah.
family. You know, that's
No,
the
you
saying,
can't
right?
choose your family,
Yeah.
but I mean, at some point, I feel like when you don't see people own up or acknowledge that they
Yeah.
could have at least been better,
Right.
that's what is
And
like
there's no
heartbreaking to me.
desire to do better. Like I'm like, I can forgive the past, but it's not like I want to be a better person or I want to be in your life. Like there's zero of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But at the same time, though, it's like if she's already told them all some semblance of that about being in her life or whatever. But if you were continuously bringing your kids back forward, you're still going to be sucked into that whole thing. You're
Yeah.
never going to grow from that.
Right.
So it's just better just to like rip off the umbilical cord and just leave at that
Yeah.
point. You know?
What?
Just take the
The
umbilical
band-
cord off.
the
Whatever.
Band-Aid?
Band-Aid, whatever. I don't know.
Band-Aid?
Something. You know, take the
I
shoe
don't think
off.
you rip umbilical cords.
Show me. I don't know. Just show me something. That's all. Just show me. I don't know. Milk cord, Band-Aid,
Oh
whatever
my
it is. But it's like you're
God.
just going to be getting sucked into the drama the whole
Yeah,
time. And you're
yeah.
just gonna, like going through this miserable cycle over and,
And I
over
didn't
again.
want my kids to hear the things that he had said to me.
Right. Because it could pass over to that.
1,000%. I'm trying to end generational trauma here.
Good.
I'm not trying to continue to
Right.
give my kids the same shit.
See the umbilical cord. See? Just take a seat. All right. Well, let's go a little deeper. All right. So Shaavvaa, for you, let's talk about some intuition. I'm going to ask you girls a question now. Can you guys pick up on when something feels off with your man?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah, but to be honest with you, my man communicates from the
Okay,
beginning. So
good.
I don't even think like there's like yes, you can intuitively tell that something is like, my husband plays soccer a lot. So like,
Okay.
I'm like, oh, I can tell like his body hurts,
Right.
you know? But I think it is powerful when your partner just communicates and you don't have to
Okay.
rely on an intuition.
All right, but let's go. But let's
Okay.
leave husband out. Let's go even
Okay.
deeper the back past
Yeah.
stuff. You know, like Shaavvaa, you said yes. So I mean, can you? Have you? And if you do feel that, do you say something to them, or you just kind of just start? You know.
I'm an overthinker, so if I
Okay.
don't say something, I'm just gonna like think of probably the worst scenario
Yeah.
possible.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like it's like a vibe you can feel when something is off. And it could be something simple as they just, are tired and not like, as uppity as they are normally.
Okay.
But like Courtney said, my significant other is also, he says, if something's wrong, I'm going to tell you.
Good.
He's like, I don't play the game of, you got to figure it out on your
No.
own. Like, I'm going to tell you something's wrong. And especially if it has to do with you, I'll talk to you about it. And he'll say, if it has nothing to do with you or anything, it could be way over here. He just like went down a rabbit hole and upset himself, and he's like, there's no reason to bring it up. It's not us or affecting us or anything. So
Okay.
yeah.
But he'll voice it though at least.
Oh
though.
yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
yeah.
And I'll ask. Like I'm pretty quick to ask or say, or just to check in. That's
Yeah.
something that I like to do. Is just, hey, is there anything I can do for you?
Okay. I like that you said checking in. I think that's
Yeah.
huge because I feel like sometimes we don't check in enough. I'm sure like you said, your husband's a communicator, which is great.
Yeah.
I was telling her a story today that my girlfriend and I just recently, I went to her probably like 3 weeks ago and I was like, you know what? I go, my eyes starting to wander. I'm starting to wander now, and I go, don't be alarmed. I'm just letting you know that,
Don't be alarmed.
We have. No,
I was
mean, it's
like, I'm alarmed. I'm not in the relationship. I'm triggered. What does that even mean?
So once again, when you're we're in it together. What we just, because of work and things like that, you lose a little bit of a connection, because you haven't seen each other enough or whatever.
Sit back
And I'll take this all day. And so what I told her, I said, I'm feeling a little bit. I feel like my eyes. I'm starting to wander, because in my life, what I have for me, in my past and that, cheated a lot, But in my 30s, I actually told myself, and the girl that I'm actually with now, we've gotten back together after 17 years and stuff like that. I said, look, I just want to be a stand-up guy. I don't ever want to cheat. I'm going to be honest with women now. So I go, if I'm feeling off and feeling like something's happening, I need to vocalize that with you before it gets to a point where I can't anymore. So me saying that was just like me just letting go of that pressure valve and be like, okay, I need to let you know that I'm starting to look around now. And that means we need to get back to us again. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. That's communication. So that's the alarming that you felt.
I do appreciate your communication and openness.
And
that
she, the next day, she goes, okay. And then the next day after we spoke about it, she came the next day going, I'm feeling a little angry about this. I said, okay. And I looked at her and said, I'm hoping you would be angry. Let's talk about it, because
I was angry about it when I heard it.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, I'm not looking to get off the hook. I go, I'm glad you're angry, because now that means you're feeling I want to know. So let's talk and get it all out.
Yeah.
And we're great. We've always been great, but I always want someone to know if it gets to that point, you have to communicate.
Right.
So, so that's all. That's
How
all.
would you take it if your husband said that to you?
I like stumping you girls. This is great. Yeah.
My husband and I have a lot of very open conversations. I do believe that men naturally do wander.
Of course.
I think like women do too. Like I check out other people too. But I do appreciate that you provided space for her to be angry too, and not take that personally.
Like I was not looking for like I'm not saying like I was looking for a cop out, or I was like literally legitimately saying like, I need to tell my feelings, because if not, and if I hold it in, there's going to be something wrong down the road for all of us. So I got to get it out. And you can be angry. I'd rather have you be angry at me now than fucking pissed off later on and kicking me out or whatever the hell it is. So, so that's all. So, but communication wise, I feel like, and I like how you pause. So how would you take that?
I would be grateful that I'm sure I'd be triggered. I'm not going to lie to you that I would be
like,
oh,
that's
thank you so much. I would be like, are you, what?
Right.
Which my husband and I have had a lot of those conversations where I am triggered and I'm like, what does this mean? I don't understand what you're communicating. But that open dialogue is everything. And my thing too is that it always brings you closer together.
Right.
If there's a willingness from both parties to understand, to vocalize, it always brings you to a level of closeness that wasn't there before.
Right. And that's what happened after the fact, after we communicated and got all out,
So that's why you had the 4-hour sexcapade.
Yes, it was. And it was amazing.
Okay, wait. So then after the sex, and then like days following, did you still have that feeling?
No. Like even when what feeling?
Like
that
the wandering eye.
No, because when I told her, it's like it all went away. Like that
there's like a level of like
a release?
I'm sorry?
Is it like a release?
It's like I said, it was a pressure valve of just like what are these feelings coming over me right now? Like because I know my old self, and it's like, so my girlfriend lets me, I can hang out with any of my girlfriends. We're all beautiful girls just like yourselves, and hang out with them all night long, and we're just hanging out, having the best time. And she knows, she goes, I'm trustworthy and I'm fine. But she knows I need that flirting outlet. But when it gets to this point, after we haven't connected and I'm doing all that flirting around, it's like something has to give. Whether it be an open relationship or whatever it is, somebody's always going to fuck it up.
That's what I was wondering, if you think that you're meant for.
No, and I'm not. I know that
so
I'm
he
not.
Won't. They won't do open relationship.
Right. And I don't need that. I know
they're
I don't need that.
monogamous, but he has been a cheater.
Yeah, back in my day.
Well, that's why I'm wondering if you're like, because my husband recently came to me and he said that he's poly.
Okay.
And so we do like, our relationship is not open, but we do play with others together, other females. Mm-hmm. So I'm just curious if you would potentially identify as more of a poly, because like he was like, he's like, I feel that release by just communicating to you that I'm poly.
Right.
Like the act of doing it together is amazing, but even just that communication and that release of it
like
is like
what
a
he
huge,
had.
a huge benefit of like, I feel like I just got it off my chest and now I can go back to being me.
Exactly.
Oh,
right. And
I love that.
being
I feel like
open
I just learned something.
Yeah, and so that's
Yeah.
how I feel. But being the poly part, I've had that back in the day. You know, we've all had some sense to play and all that stuff. But it always comes back to when I'm with the right person. If we do explore, then that's great because it's something that we decide.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's like I always knew that I don't need that extra. I know what my outlet is. My outlet is just to be around women flirting and just being me, you know, because
Totally.
I love the adoration, I love the attention, and I like giving it back. But at the same time, it's like I also know that I don't need to explore further when I have someone just as amazing like my girlfriend at home.
Right.
You know, and that's why it keeps me. So my conversation with her does release that pressure valve.
Yeah.
And that means there's also a disconnect because I'm not getting the attention from you. And once I preface that, we actually got back and talked, you know, like I said, it just brings us back to a place where now it's just like,
There's
all right,
a
I'm good,
willingness.
I'm great. Yeah,
That willingness
right.
is everything.
It's always going to be a give and take, and this is something for you. I don't know how long you've been with your boyfriend so far. You said 7 months now, or
Yeah.
You're right. It's always going to be a give and take, you know, because you've been with yours long enough, and you've been through long enough relationships to know that it's always the communication is key to because there's always going to be an ebb and flow.
Yeah.
No matter what, you might be looking, he might be, and sometimes situations come up where you all of a sudden one day go, wow, this person has just knocked me off my feet because I just shook your hand. There's this energy, and that's something that can happen, you know. And so, and with that being said, I got called upon that one time too, by the way, where I did see this girl at a party, and her intuition for the first time after we've been together for almost 5 years now, she literally, I got home and I said, oh my God, I'm going to send these photos from last night. Look at this girl, and she goes, and she was talking, and she goes, why do you have her number? And I went, well, you know, I'm going to send these photos. She goes, get rid of it. And I go, why do I need to get rid of it? I went, yeah, you're right, honey. And I deleted it right there. She felt the energy just from that conversation, just from the looks the night long, that this is not right. Something can come out of this. And she called me on it, and I squashed it just like that. Yeah. And it was the only time she's ever had to do that, by the way, too. But she felt that intuition going, I know you, Chris Lewis. I know where this is going to go. I felt that. I've seen that energy in your eyes before.
Yeah.
Get rid of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, so how did you feel when he first came to you and said, I want to bring someone else
It was
in?
like a joke about having a threesome.
Okay.
I was so triggered. I like shook. My adrenaline was just like beside myself. I've got religious trauma. I have a lot of abandonment trauma too. And so everything in me was like, my life that I've created that I love is falling apart, right? Like I went like doom gloom, like this is the worst thing ever. But that's where it just started as that and just became like a conversation. And it took years before we ever had a threesome.
Right.
Because I did have so much to work through. And it was literally just a starting point for us to talk about.
Okay.
And he was
everything.
patient.
So patient. He's so patient with me.
But how were you at that moment when he said that to you? What was your response
She
to
was
that?
gloom.
No, I get that, but I wonder what being
I am
gloomy is
envisioning
one
I'm
thing.
shaking in the car.
Right. Okay, but you have to respond to him, obviously, you
Yeah.
know, and say, I mean, was it anger? Was it doubt? You know, I know
I
doom and
think
gloom, but
it was sadness, but also like I'm trying to understand. Because in
Okay.
my mind, if you want a threesome, it means that I've missed the mark.
Of course.
I'm not good
Right.
enough. I'm not satisfying
I
you.
get that.
Right. And I think that's something that we've been trained to think, but it's not true. Right. Like there's nothing, you can be amazing in everything. And it doesn't mean that you're any less because
Agreed.
there's a desire for other things too. Right.
Well, what does it mean then?
What?
Like-
Just more.
She's like, oh God.
Oh God. More play, more fun. Like it's like he described it to me as this too. It's like you can love pizza, right? We all
Yeah.
just had pizza and you're like, that was amazing. Do you want to have it forever?
No.
No.
Right.
You're like, tonight I'm having something totally different. And it doesn't mean that the pizza was less than, that it doesn't take away
It's always
from
going to
it.
be my
Right.
go-to.
Right. You're going to love it and you're
Yeah.
going to have it again really soon, but it doesn't mean that there aren't other amazing things.
Okay.
And it's just that we get to experience those amazing things together. That's our like boundary and our rule is that like we do those together.
okay.
Okay.
I think
Is
that's
there ever
fantastic.
anyone that he chooses and you're like, I don't like her?
The great thing is we have the same taste.
Oh, that's great.
We like the same
you haven't-
style.
I haven't come across that.
No.
Okay.
But it's really about like for me, like he really enjoys seeing my pleasure with it. So it's like for me, like it's like, do we have that energetic connection and that like do I feel excited by it? Then he's like, well, then I'm excited
Of
like
course.
to experience this with you.
Especially if
Yeah.
you have the same taste and likes
Yeah.
as well. So
Yeah.
that's just bonus right
Right?
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
So
that.
we just recently had a guest on, a Mormon girl who experienced like swinging and then decided to go back to that without the partner, which created
A lot of tension
a
and
lot
friction.
of
Sure.
drama.
Right.
Do you ever worry about that? That maybe
Yeah.
he could potentially explore without you?
Yeah, we've had like it's a constant like we're constantly in conversation.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
And
great.
I explained this to my friend CJ because she was like, "Do you worry about it?" And I was like, "You know how one day you're like, I'm so good enough and I'm so worthy."
Yes.
But the next day you're like, "Oh God, I'm not it." You know, like
Yeah.
I'm just not good enough today. It's a constant conversation where you're constantly working through the things. And we always say, like, you forget, right? Like,
Yeah.
you forget the things. And so we have those dialogues all the time. My greatest fear was always, like, that there was going to be a emotional connection with somebody else.
Okay.
And so, like, we always talk about that. And the funny thing is that we're both life coaches as well. And he's like, I have emotional connections with so many people. And we both do.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Which
we're
is totally
coaches.
acceptable,
Yeah.
by the way.
But I don't
Yeah.
want the emotional connection better with someone else than
Right.
me.
Right.
No, but I feel like, and I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I feel like if you're showing each other just how much you love each other
Yeah.
with that emotional connection, it's always going to override everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
And that's what we always talk about that. Like we have such a beautiful family and a life together and
There's
we
just so
want the
much.
same things. Like we're working on like TV shows and stuff like that. Like our path that we want and the life that we created is always going to be the number one.
That's great.
And that we're just always in dialogue. Like I always have a say. I think that was something I didn't experience as a child is that like you didn't have a say in things. And that's where my trauma comes in is that I'm afraid that he'll meet somebody and then I lose my voice.
Okay.
But it's always a
Okay.
reminder
But
that
that's
you
the
always have a say in a voice.
That's the constant dialogue,
Yeah.
though. And I'm
Yeah.
sure like he's a champion for you,
I
just
get
like you are for him.
uncomfortable sometimes in those conversations. I feel like I'm not good in that, and it seems like you guys have like a really
I wasn't either. It's just when you're doing it all the time,
You
like
get better.
you get
Yeah.
good
It's
at
like
it.
practice.
Right.
I
Yeah.
always say
Right.
like yoga, it's a
Yeah.
practice, or like our meditation, it's a practice. You can't just have a bad day and think that you can meditate and
right.
you can't. You got to
Right.
meditate on the good days and the bad days. It's a
Exactly.
practice. So maybe
Yes.
communication with you guys has been a practice over the
Forever.
course
Yeah.
of your 11 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I am reading this book.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of it.
I have not heard of that one.
Okay, so he talks about in the book. So when I heard that
Let
we were
everyone
going to
know what book that is.
it's called Sex Matters. And I don't want to ruin his name, but everyone knows him as like on
Oso?
yeah,
Oso?
on Instagram if they follow like his meditation practices and such. So when I heard that we were going to have you as a guest and CJ told me a little bit about you, I was like, ooh, I want to research this because it seems like you've been married for quite a long time. I want it because he talks about it in the book about not having that we're not monogamous. We're not
Yeah.
meant to be monogamous.
Yeah.
And I have a friend, and he told me this a long time ago. And as I was reading this, it's when it clicked in my brain for me. So I want to ask. He's a photographer, and he's married to this beautiful Japanese woman who's like 20 years younger than him. And I asked him, I said, Michael, because he says they're polyamorous. And I said, you share your wife with like other men. Are you ever worried that one of them is just going to run away with her and like swoop her up from you? And he said, if I truly loved her, he goes, what difference does it make? He
Yeah.
has
God,
said,
that sounds like my husband. He was like, I want what's best for her. If she chooses it's not me, then I just want her to be happy.
that's what he
Right.
said.
It still blows my mind.
great.
I
Like
said-
what?
And he says that is the true definition of
Yeah.
love. When you love someone so much, that's no longer becomes a fear because if that's what she chose, then that's what I'm going to encourage. And I was like, wow.
Isn't
like,
it amazing?
It's just such a different level of love. And he talks about this in the book that when you truly like love something or someone, there's no limitations. Like
Yeah.
you can't limit someone and put parameters on that because then it switches it into like a fear, which is not love.
And it becomes a control and a limiting of them. And I get it because I'm that person. Like, I'm the one with the fear and the like, oh no, this is different than what I thought it was going to be. Or
and
what
that's
I,
okay
and
as long as you
he
talk
says
about
that,
it.
that's not normal, that's society.
Yes.
Like society has put us, like I said, in a box and put these restrictions on us.
Yeah.
The same with religion that make us feel guilty and
Right.
not free and
made
open.
sex wrong.
Yes,
Right.
and shameful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I always like struggle with that because I want to live a life that's like open and free. But I'm still like guarded in the sense
Yeah.
where I'm like,
It's fearful, right? Because we don't want to be hurt and we don't
Yeah.
want the pain and we don't like, and so you guard against the thing that you feel like is going to be the thing that hurts you, but it's actually the opposite, right?
it's
like
unhealthy. They say it's unhealthy.
It's like if you lean into the thing that you're afraid of, right? Like my husband being all of himself and being expressive and being flirty and being all the things, like that's the thing that actually has him coming back for more.
Right.
Me being controlling and limiting of him is actually what would have him being like
pushing him away.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why I was going to the fact, once again, to reiterate this whole thing, I believe in everything you're saying and off
Yeah.
of this book right here. That's how I live my life. It's like, it's like they always say, like, Chris, like, I always say I never want to be a hypocrite in my life. And all the past I've cheated on and everything in my younger days, it's growth and learning. And I always said, someone goes, well, what if someone ever did that to you, your girlfriend? I go, if they did it to me, then it just wasn't meant to be. But I have to understand that and be able to be acceptable of that because it just wasn't meant to be. And even if you're with someone for a very long time and all of a sudden they decide that they want something else, I can't be upset with that.
Right.
That's my ex-wife, by the way. It's like we're best friends, and people are just stunned on how we can be the way that we are.
Stunned.
But she was just like, I just don't want to be married anymore. And I go, okay, I'm willing to explore that with you. What does that mean for us? I never got upset. I just had to understand that I can't control that end of it.
Right.
I can only understand it and be helpful and hopefully do the right steps to get you to that point. If it's not me, then let's figure out an exit strategy that will work for both of us.
Yeah.
But I never got angry, upset about it. I just had to understand those are her feelings, and I can't change her feelings. I can try to work through the feelings and hopefully maybe with therapy or whatever, but ultimately her feelings are her feelings. If it's not meant to be anymore, why am I going to hold on to something that's just not meant to be?
Yeah.
Have you
So-
had any bad experiences with threesomes?
No. Thankfully.
Good.
We did go to a sex party recently. It was my first one ever.
Is it the same one that
No, it was
Okay.
a different one.
Chris went to? No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe.
Oh, maybe it was.
Maybe. Yeah.
Can I a little funny story. So
Okay.
I've never been to a sex party, and I'm a little bit nervous of like, what am I gonna expect? What am I gonna see? Is it people just fucking everywhere?
Yeah.
Like, what is this
That's
moment?
what I was thinking. Yeah, right.
And so my husband and I go upstairs, and there's like this little private room, and there's one Penthouse magazine. Me realizing in that moment, I've never actually looked through a Penthouse magazine. Again, that religious grow up. I missed the moment. And so we're like flipping through the magazine, and there's only candlelight because you've turned in your phones. There's no real light. So we're looking through this Penthouse with a candle, and I see my friend CJ in there.
is
And I was like,
funny.
what are the chances of one Penthouse magazine and there's CJ?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was actually a really calming. I was like, oh, like I feel at peace because like I know somebody who's here, even though they're in a magazine.
Yeah.
Okay, how did that go, by the way?
It was great. It was a really healing experience. Didn't find anybody like to play with
Yeah.
per se. Didn't like have that connection or that moment. But it was great to like meet and see how like it's healing for me to see how open it is and normal it is.
Right.
Because I just grew up and it was just so taboo and wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I went through one. We just wanted just to go and see what
You
it was
guys
like.
went?
Just see what it was like and
Okay,
like
and?
explore and just like learn. It's
Yeah, it's very learning.
Wasn't expecting it. It was just more of like let's just immerse ourselves in this experience and just see what it's like,
Yeah.
And you can't go in there with any expectations or any weirdness because then that just throws you off anyways, right?
Yeah.
So we were just there, just casual and just seeing what it was about. And everyone was just so amazing and nice and
Yeah.
like saying they could tell like, oh my God, you guys are first timers. Like, yeah, we just
Yeah.
want to just see what this is about. They go, take your time, look around. And as the room started getting more and more at the end of the night, we're like, okay, this is great. And we watched or whatever. But it was just that thing where, okay, we're good. We
Yeah.
went to our room and we started kissing and messing around a little bit. But it was like this, it was just
And then
the
do
heat of
people
just
watch
it.
you? Like, do you have sex
Oh, I don't-
there?
No, we did not. But
Oh,
I'm saying,
but you could.
people,
You
yeah,
could.
exactly.
And
right.
I watched a group moment for a little bit. Yeah.
Right. There were a few rooms, like some singles, some groups and whatever, but we were just getting, wow, this is great. And we were like,
Yeah.
do we want to come back to something like this? Well, we don't know.
At
Maybe
any
so.
time, did you feel uncomfortable?
No, never. Like,
No?
if I feel like.
What about you?
Nervous,
the only
right?
Nervous, yes.
Yeah.
The only time I felt a little uncomfortable was somebody just kept asking what my boundary was, and they
Okay.
were respectful of it, but the energy was weird.
From that
Didn't feel good
person
to
who said
me.
that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. See, and that's just creepy vibe, though. I feel like if that's an
that
intuition of
particular
that.
person. But
yeah.
aside from that person, amazing people who are very open, very accepting, very much new boundaries, very like I loved it.
Yeah.
It was very
Right.
wonderful.
At that point, does your husband like step in and
Yeah.
be like,
He would. He knew I could hold my own.
Right.
But like absolutely. Yeah.
"Oh, good, I like it."
All right. Shaavvaa, what about you? Any situations
Any
like
sex
this?
parties for you?
there?
No, not for me.
Any threesomes, any play? What's your thoughts on everything?
Like Courtney, I grew up with like being in church all the time, whether it was youth group or Bible school and all that fun stuff. That's something I'm working on,
Okay.
like, you know, because we both do
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans. Yeah, we're in the same work, and you know, it took me a long time to even be comfortable exposing myself on there in any way. And now I have a partner as well that's comfortable doing that stuff with me, which is also new for me.
Oh, that's great.
So that's I guess my level of it is experiencing that with a partner. Toys are new for me, also experiencing that with this partner as well. So a lot of new stuff there.
See, Jamie? I'm
What?
just saying. She's like, there's steps that you take and baby steps, but keep going.
I mean, I have nothing against any of that stuff. But I'm not there. But
Right.
after watching them and their experience, that's like something I aim for in the long run. Like
Right.
I want to be in that healthy of a relationship with somebody years down the road, that if that's a, you know, book that's opened, that we will both like go at it in an open mind and in the same way that her and Nick did.
I think that's great.
Honestly.
I think with all this being said, though, for your situation when you first approach you and what you're talking about right now, it's just that thing of, it's always proof is in the pudding. You know, like if they can prove whatever they want or just how you want to grow together, you have to really show the person and that you're in it with them. And that's something that we're doing this together. It's not just, yes, we all have our wants. We all have like these, our fantasies, but you know, you want that person to be in there with you. And that's when you know it's real. When it's just something where you can kind of tell that it's a little off with your intuition. With that being said, it's like, I think it's more about you than me. That's when there's problems. So I'm sure for you, what I want to get back to you and probably explore with you a little more as well, is that first time that you did it, you know, you're probably thinking about how's he viewing, and vice versa, because it's the first time, and so you want to be respectful.
I was like,
and
I
playful
did it.
Yeah,
I feel like she was in, like, the read that I would get from your energy is you probably loved it and you were in the moment,
right?
Not in your head.
But I'm asking you from your husband's standpoint, like, how are you viewing him into the fold with all three of you? You know, like, because it's got to be. It's a delicate situation at the beginning.
It is.
You know,
my greatest fear was watching him fuck somebody else.
Okay.
Like, how am I going to respond to witnessing that? And that was like always my reservation, like, because you don't know until that moment, right? Like, you're like, what is that going to see? I was actually the one who stuck his dick into her. I don't even know if I can say that.
Yeah, no, you can say it.
Yeah. She looked at me and she
Travis,
probably read the shock on my face. I was like, oh God.
Which is shocking. Like, even hearing myself say
sounds
that.
really hot.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
it
lie.
does. Yeah, it does. I mean, I got a good visual. Like, wow, that's
Travis,
awesome.
hot?
Approved. Yeah, it's approved over here. Yeah.
So I'm just looking at you going like, when you said, I was like, damn. I was like, you know,
Because everything has always been centered around my pleasure and my comfort, which I think is really important when you're going into a threesome, is like the female's pleasure and like, how is she feeling about this, right? And so it was always like, what am I comfortable with? What am I okay with? And so he hadn't fucked her, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I just want to do this already. Like, he was like fucking me, and we were playing with her, and I was like, let's just do this. And so I put his dick in her, and it was fucking great.
Yeah.
It was like, honestly, my favorite moment of the whole thing was just that moment. And I like actually shocked myself because I was so afraid of this one thing, and I actually loved it.
Right.
And so now I actually use that as a way of like keeping myself going and leaning into different things I'm afraid of, not necessarily sex, but like putting myself out there that like this one thing that I'm so resistant of might actually be my favorite thing, right? Like, how can I lean into that even more and really like push myself?
oh, that's great. That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Visual. It's just in my head. It's amazing. So I'm looking at Courtney going, wow, that's a great visual.
Right?
You know,
It's great.
So, yeah.
I'm at a loss for words.
So we're trying to groom Jamie to be a little bit more.
I'm
out
like
of her
super
box.
vanilla.
Yeah.
I've always
That
been
was
like
me.
that though.
That
So
was
I'm
me.
like
But you're always curious though, and I love your
so
curiosity.
curious because
though.
I ask so many questions because I'm so open to learn. But like,
That's everything.
Yeah.
I'm just
Start small. Just
Right.
start small and
Yeah.
see. And if you don't like it, then say that. You know,
Yeah.
then like, hey, I'm not interested in this, but thank you for like letting me try it.
Right.
And I'm always in like long term, so I am
Yeah.
usually never really single for long. So it's
Exactly.
always,
That's
like-
how I was.
Yeah.
Never well, clearly I moved one out in the morning and was single the next in the evening, so not single for long,
I
couple
love
hours.
it.
all with the magical handshake.
Right?
Yeah, but I mean, I love like this new dynamic now of like people being more open.
Yeah.
So it's been a learning. This last year has been a huge learning experience for me,
Yeah.
and just like reading and then having like different guests on and yeah.
Right. And one
So-
thing I try to let everyone know, my friends, myself, and whomever I go, and don't ever feel that, don't let the guilt kick in, never feel like
Yeah.
you're being judged or whatever. Just do what you want to do.
this is
It's
not
like,
a place of
that's-
judgment.
you know?
Yeah, release the
Right.
shame.
Yeah.
It's the shame
Learn and
too.
growth.
Right.
Shame to me feels like a cavity in your teeth, like it just slowly eats away at everything.
Right.
If you can get rid of that and release it, golden.
And going at your own time, like you were saying,
Yeah.
Courtney, it took you a moment to get to that point, but everyone going at their own time. But just know that if you're going to do it, don't ever look back and go, man, I feel really bad about that. Just own up to it and just say that,
Yeah.
like you said, Shaavvaa, it's like, oh, well, I didn't like it or I whatever, and just let it go and move on. You know,
Yeah.
everybody needs to experience life
I mean,
experiences.
what if
and
you
stuff.
get like a stinky vagina?
Oh my God.
What? I
I feel like you might be able to smell that and just kind of
But
back away.
Yeah.
you
I don't know.
energetically know somebody's like how well they take care of
Yeah.
themselves,
Right.
right? Like you're an energetic match. That's like the intuition, right? Like I
Yeah.
know like you're taking care of yourself and this is gonna be great.
Well, you know
Right.
how people just have different smells?
Yeah.
So sometimes we just don't know until it's too late. And you're like,
Well, I can tell as a guy, that's like a territory like going, okay, I'm going in. You're like, please God,
Oh,
please God,
God.
please God, please God, like that.
like
you
my
know?
my ex would call me and be like, I love this girl to death, but she smells awful.
Right.
And I'm like,
No.
and he's like, it's not that she's not clean. She just
Yeah.
has
You know, like
a smell to her.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, fuck, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe she has fucking BV and she needs to get on some antibiotics.
Or the pheromones
I
on
don't
a matchup.
know.
The pheromones on a
that's
matchup
he
for
goes,
them.
no, Jamie, she doesn't have an infection. It's nothing like that. It's just people just have different
Right.
like smells, and
Yeah.
he's like, it's bad. Like I can't even go down on her, and I'm
Right.
like,
maybe some pineapple.
I was like,
Yeah.
something you can eat.
I don't know. So I was just wondering. I wasn't
Yeah.
saying like.
She's coaching her ex-boyfriend.
I haven't-
Maybe some
right.
pineapples.
I send him a text. It's just like all pineapples.
Try some fruit.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so nothing like that.
I've
that's
never
ever-
experienced that. No.
Yeah,
Grateful
good.
for that.
Yeah,
You've had a
and
good
then
run.
once you are with someone, do you invite them back, or are you a
Yeah.
one and done?
No,
or do you have your
oh,
favorites?
I do have some favorites, and I have
Okay.
people that like it is a level of comfort, right? You're like I've been with you before, and we don't have to have that an awkward initial
Familiarity, right.
Yeah,
Which is
which
going to
is
help you to
fine,
explore
but-
more, by the way.
Yeah.
I think
Wait,
that's-
what? And then do you kick them out at they sleep over? Like,
no,
do you have
like
rules?
so. We've always gotten a hotel. Remember, I live at Full House.
Yeah,
I got
yeah,
all my
yeah.
kids,
That's
so
right.
this is going to be off, out, not at the house. I'll usually rent a hotel and I'll shoot content because I'm big on OnlyFans. I'll shoot content. We'll go and like have drinks, and then we'll go back to the hotel, and
Okay.
then everyone kind of goes until everyone is satisfied.
Nice.
And it's always just ended at like everyone's just like, I'm complete. I feel satisfied. I'm good, and then everyone just leaves.
That's great.
so you guys don't stay the night.
No,
You go home.
We go home too.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, see?
Looky here.
Right.
I like it.
Take notes on that one.
Hey, baby steps.
Baby
Okay,
steps,
all right,
baby
I'm
steps. Even like a year ago, hearing myself talk about this, I would have been like, "Wow!"
And then I'll just
So
I'll
impressed.
I'll check in with Courtney.
Right?
So
Totally.
let me ask you, so how is OnlyFans going for you girls, by the way? Shav, we'll start with you. What's your run on OnlyFans for you right now?
I mean, I would say it's pretty consistent. I feel like before it became popular,
Yeah.
that it was a little bit better, but it is more saturated, right? Because more people do it.
Okay.
But it's pretty consistent. I haven't had a real job in 3 years.
That's great.
And I've been able to live the life that I've wanted. Lots of traveling and things like that. And, bought a new car, which is really funny because they didn't ask me for my proof of income.
I always love that.
Which I was really curious about. I was like, because my mom was with me and I was just like, how do I go about this?
Yeah, that's really great.
But yeah, no, it's been pretty consistent.
Okay.
Obviously there's always room for growth. That's one thing I love about our friendship is I constantly feel like I get to learn from her.
Yeah.
Because she's more experienced than I am. She's been modeling longer than I have as well. And just, networking and whatnot. But yeah, it's been great so far. And
Okay.
I look forward to trying new things and growing. And like I said, also involving my partner has been a new interesting thing. He really enjoys it. And I love learning, like the experience, and finding out like what I'm comfortable doing or things I need to change to make myself feel more comfortable. Like we were talking about a little bit earlier. For me, I feel like I present this image, right? Like when you do modeling, you're an image essentially. And so, it's like I want to feel sexy when I'm doing these things. So it's like I want to be like glammed up and have the makeup on and things like that. So which I didn't know at first that I liked because I felt like, oh, I'm embarrassed, like filming things made me feel uncomfortable at first. And so I had to like dig deep down and figure out why I felt uncomfortable about it. And then my significant other pointed out, well, when you shot with Courtney, you just like turned on this like instant like sex appeal. And I was like, yeah, because I felt like a bad bitch. Like I felt great, I was done up. Like she's hot. It made me feel hot. And so, yeah, figured out. Yeah. It's a great learning experience. It's been awesome. I'm super grateful for it.
Good. You found your lane then, basically, in it as well. So, and same for you, Courtney, as well?
I love OnlyFans.
Okay, good. Good.
I started in 2019, I think similar time before I knew her and before it was like the big thing. I just wanted a place where I could express myself without community guidelines.
Got it.
Because I was like, I have these gorgeous photos that I want to share, but where am I going to post these that like they're not going to get flagged? And they weren't even like crazy revealing, but like you can't touch yourself. And like I would have like silhouette nudes at the beach. And I'm like, I just want to share these. So I started then and I was like, I hope maybe I can make like $500 a month. That would be dope. Car payment, some insurance, you know? And then it was great. I've always made more than that. And then in 2021, an article came out about me in the New York Post about me being a former school teacher turned top OnlyFans. And everything's been a wild ride since.
Right. Yeah. They just fueled the fire.
It fueled a huge fire.
That's great.
In the best way.
Do you dress up as a school teacher?
I do. I absolutely play the role. I play the fantasy. And there was actually an article that came out, I think a couple weeks ago that was like, Courtney doesn't even care that she's tempting children.
Oh, my goodness.
Because I dress up as a teacher that I'm tempting children.
Oh,
and
got
I was
it.
like, stop.
Yeah, they'll find it on their own. That's the crazy part. Kids nowadays, especially social media and like in the internet, they'll find it on their own. So,
yeah.
All right, well, we're going to jump to this. We're going to give you our question of the day that you guys are going to have to answer. And so here's the question. So, my husband is a morning guy, if you know what I mean, yet I'm not usually ready in the AM and only really get in the mood in the evenings. I feel bad for rejecting him, yet feel worse when I do it out of obligation or guilt. How do I let him know without seeming selfish, or is there a way we can come to a compromise that I am not considering?
Do you want me
You want to start with that?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm really about finding the win-win in a relationship. Like I don't believe in compromise. Compromise builds resentment, and resentment comes through in anger and like nasty ways. And so it's like finding the win-win. What is the win-win? Is it that he waits a little bit? Like my husband wakes up way before me, and I'm not a morning person, but he'll lay in bed for like an hour or so and journal and do his things, and then we'll begin our day, right? So
great.
like finding the win-win. Is it that like you do some stuff at night and do some stuff a little later in the morning? It's like having those open dialogues to find where that
balance is.
Where that is. Yeah.
Right. That's great. Shaavvaa, what about you on this one?
Honestly, I was going to say the same.
Yeah.
I was going to use the word compromise, but it's more of a middle ground. That's kind of when we communicate about anything, we always say, hey, is there a middle ground here that like both of us are going to be satisfied with? So that's realistically how we would go about it. You know, what works for both of us, whether it's, we're doing it, like she was saying, sometimes in the morning and sometimes in the evening, whatever's best for the both of us so just finding a middle ground, honestly. I feel like that's the best way to
you're right.
keep both parties satisfied and keep things going smoothly.
Right. Jamie?
I'm gonna let you answer this.
Okay,
one first.
I'm just saying, like, I'm agreeing with you girls. As long as there's no resentment, you know, you don't want the other
Yeah.
person to feel some sense of resentment because that is a feeling of rejection that they're feeling.
Yeah.
So once again, you gotta just kind of just feel a compromise and just a middle ground, like you said, on timing and saying, hey, if this is what you want in the morning, then let me just kind of wake up a little bit more, or why don't you be here a little longer without groping on me right away and just jumping right into it, which I'm
Yeah.
sure is probably the fact sometimes, because if he's a morning person, he's just going off of his needs, which is okay, but you got to make sure that your other partner's in with you on that program.
My thing too is like, is there a way to like warm her up? Is it like straight like?
And that's what I
here's
mean, though.
my dick.
Right, that's what I mean, because if he's a morning person, that means he's just rolling over and already kind of groping on or whatever. But there's
Yeah.
ways to make the other person feel comfortable. But I feel like she needs to let him know that. Like,
Yeah.
hey, this might actually turn me on more. This might
Right.
actually be a better way to do this. You know, which most people don't communicate that thing. So
Because most people don't know their own truth about
Right.
what they actually want and desire and what would feel good.
Right.
Yeah.
And I get it. I mean, there's like we talked about, I think, in a few episodes
Yeah.
where there's the morning
Yeah.
and the evening. You have to
Yeah.
find a middle ground. Like sometimes the best way maybe just put on the calendar. Hey, let's try
Yeah.
it this time of the day and see what happens. At least everybody's happy now.
Right.
So
Totally.
all right, Jamie.
He should slap her in the face with his dick and say, "Get up, bitch." No, I'm just kidding.
I personally like that approach,
All right,
but it's
and
not for everyone.
and that can work too, but not all the time though.
Right.
You know, there's always those moods and
Can
feelings.
you
where-
imagine?
Right. Oh,
Like,
I've imagined.
Yeah, like I'm not a morning person. Like, so that's a tough one because that's like my time.
Yeah.
So
So he has to come along with that timing. Then he just has to be a part of that time.
I kind
in a
of
weird
like
way.
what she said. Like her husband is up before her, so he kind of lets her sleep in
Yeah.
and finds something else. So her morning may not necessarily be his morning, but he's filling that time with like journaling or something, and then allowing her to like kind of sleep in.
Right.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that.
I do too.
But I don't want to wake up early to. But
Well, we don't know
I feel like
how
he
early
needs,
it is. They
Yeah,
didn't say how
well,
early it was.
if he spiced it up and made it fun, then she wouldn't be writing and
Right.
complaining.
Yeah, bring her some coffee. Like bring
So-
do something. Do a good deed.
Do for her, and she
Right.
will return the favor.
Right.
I promise you.
The
I
stuff
tell
in the
guys this
bedroom-
all the time. Like, we get what we give. So if there's something that you feel like your partner is lacking, then where can you be better?
That's true.
So
Right.
stop putting it on them and look and see where you can be better.
Right. Don't pout about it. Do something about it. Be
Yeah.
proactive.
That's
so,
what I said.
All right.
I always say intimacy in the bedroom starts way before it actually starts in the bedroom, right? Like communication,
Yes.
safety, all of those things like really take place before. So like where can those things happen before morning and night sex is even a thing?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. All right, guys. Well, we had some amazing guests today. Thank you so much for being on the
Thank
show.
you.
And
Thank
I'm
you
going
for
to start.
having
girls.
Shave, I'm going to start with you. What can we plug for you right
Yeah.
now? What do you want to say? Socials,
we
whatever.
find ya?
Yes.
Well, you can find me on Instagram. I feel like no one can spell my name either.
I know. I'm so sorry. We wrote a card, and I'm like, "How do you spell her name?" So I'm so sorry I butchered your name.
Oh no, it's totally fine. I go by Shaavvaa.
Okay.
However you feel to pronounce it's totally fine. But mostly on Instagram. That's pretty much. I mean TikTok, but even that's not. I don't know.
Right.
Basically
And your-
Instagram and OnlyFans.
your OF.
Everything's on there. All the links are in the bio, even though it doesn't say it because you have to go on a roundabout way to
Your fun page.
promote that. Yeah, the spicy
secret
Yeah.
site.
The secret
Come
site.
to my private site. Almost sounds like a black market, but yeah, just OnlyFans really. Still just working on that and growing that, and yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, Courtney. What
love
about
it.
yourself? Where can we find you?
I'm Courtney Tillia with 2 L's everywhere.
Nice.
Except my OnlyFans is a Courtney L. Tillia.
Okay,
Okay.
you have
That's
to change
okay.
it up.
Yeah.
Damn them.
Who took my name?
You're gonna have to. Surprised
Gotta
you
put
haven't
that
found
middle
that one
initial.
out
I
yet.
know. I'm gonna
Yeah.
hunt him down.
Okay. All right, Jamie. What's new for you? Anybody plugging today?
Oh yes. Thank you to Alani Nu for these amazing energy drinks, and this one is actually by Addison Rae, so they're delicious.
Great. All right,
What about
guys, and
you?
you can find. I'm just gonna plug our dating intelligence, just anything on social media, and my personal is at Fetch Sport. Please check out everything that we're on and our YouTube. Please subscribe, and that is our show for today. Travis, thank you for being back there behind
you,
and doing the
Travis.
producing.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys, that's another show. Thank you.